Okay, so we have been learning Parak Lamed Aleph. We've been talking about Kulos Mashiach, that based on what the Rambam talked about and the things that Mashiach has to do, so that we know that we are at least Chezkas Mashiach. So we were looking at these things and whether they were literal or figurative. And we've done that for the last two sessions. And today we are up to the section of building the Beis Hamikdash. So we've talked about fighting the wars of Hashem. We talked about enforcing. Well, first of all, we talked about Yamid Melch and Beis David, the idea of someone being from Beis David. We talked about Yichud Kol Yisrael, the idea of enforcing Torah mitzvahs and what that meant. And then we also talked about fighting the wars of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And now we are up to building the Beis Hamikdash in its place and being Makapes Nitchei Yisrael. So that's one of the, again, one of the requirements that the Rambam writes about what Mashiach is going to do. And we're looking at how all of these things actually played out in a literal and a figurative way. Okay, so Rifki, I see you're here, and I see Lebo is also here. Okay, so who'd like to start? Rifki, are you awake?
So I'll start.
Okay.
Bana mikdash b'mkoymai v'kibetz nitchei Yisrael b'derenu. V'hinei medivrei Rebbe b'sicha Shabbos Parshas Shmois Tavshinun Bey shehuva le'el bora shemedar bal simonei Mashiach b'vadai b'loshen osid ki dover she'einenu b'hoive. So from the words of the Rebbe in the Sicha of Shabbos Parshas Shmois Tavshinun Beis, which we mentioned above, so it's clear that it's talking about the Simonim of Mashiach in future tense, not something that is now. וכמובן בפשטות שמשיח בוודאי הוא רק אשר בונה הגאולה בפועל, היינו כשיש שלמות קיום המצוות בפועל, שלזה צורך בניין המקדש כפשוטו וקיבוץ נדחי ישראל בשלמות, שדווקא אז מגיעים למצב של מקריבים קורבנות ועושים שמיטים ויובלות ככל מצוות האמורה בתורה, וכל עוד שלא הגענו למצב זה, אין זו גאולה שלמה, ואין זה משיח בוודאי האמור ברמב"ם. So it's understood, simply understood that Mashiach bevadai is only when the actual Geula comes in actuality. That means when we'll be able to fulfill all the mitzvahs b'poil. For that, we need the building of the Beis Hamikdash, an actual Beis Hamikdash, and all Bnei Yisrael will have to be together. Because only then can we bring the karbanos and do Shemitah and Yovel the way it's said in the Torah. And until we actually come to this matzav, so this cannot be the Gula Shlema. It's not Mashiach Bevadai, which the Rambam describes. Afal Pikein, Efshalom Tzoi B'divrei Rebbe, Shekvar Ka'es B'hoiva Yeshne Minyanim Shehein Me'ein. ובדוגמאס פולויסов של משיח בוודאי, בבניין המקדש ובקיבוץ הנידוחים, כהכנה לשלמות בזה בגאולה השלמה. So, even so, we can find in the words of the Rebbe that in the present, we already have things which are similar to similar and the same idea as what Moshiach Bevadai has to do, the building of the Beis Hamikdash and gathering all Jews, and this is like a hachana to the completion that will be with the complete Geula. V'alpi mavur b'kuntres Beis Rabbeinu shebebavel ayisayid hakosov va'ahi lahem lemikdash ma'at ba'artzos asher bo'u sham. שגם זמן הגולוס יש לנו לישראל מקדש מעט, שהוא כמו תמורת המקדש בירושלים שנחרב, וגם כהכנה למקדש השלישי שיבנה מחדש. So as is explained in the Kutras Beis Rabbeinu shebebavel, on that which it is said that there will be a mikdash ma'at in the lands where they come, that even in the time of Galus, Bnei Yisrael have a mikdash ma'at, And this is an exchange for the Beis Hamikdash in Yerushalayim, which was destroyed, and also as a preparation for the third Beis Hamikdash, which will be built in the future. Uberu Chazal, Shakavana leBeis Rabbeinu shebeBavel, shesham ikar ashos hashchina b'zman hagalus, v'hu ha'achana leMikdash hashlishi, she'izgala tchila sham, u'misham yoshev Yerushalayim kimavor sham barichos. And Chazal explain that what does Beis Rabbeinu shebeBavel mean? That in the time of the Galus, that is where the Ikar Shechina is found. And this is a achana to the third Beis Hamikdash. And first, the Shechina will be revealed there. And from there, it will return to Yerushalayim, as it explained there in length. And
there at length, Chazal, there at length, we're talking about in the Gemara, in Talmud Megillah. Okay, so that's what the Rebbe is referring to. Okay.
U'ma'aseh harebe. V'lo yesh loymar shemerumas b'lashon harambam b'ilchos melech haMashiach u'bana mikdash b'mkaymai d'lechayra ma'hu hatzarich lashmienu kan shebinyan haMikdash hu b'mkaymai u'li'idach lama einay mefarish hamakoym u'bana mikdash b'Yerushalayim. So the Rebbe says, adds, we could say that there is a remez in the lashon of the Rambam in Hilchos Melech HaMashiach, because the Rambam writes, "Ubana mikdash b'mkaymai," and we can have a question: why does it have to say the word b'mkaymai? And on the other hand, if it's already saying a place, then it could already say which place. Why doesn't it say Ubana mikdash b'Yerushalayim? Shemamkaymai reim is gam al makaymai shemelech Mashiach bezman hagolus lifnei sharei zeh Mashiach bevadai. Hainu shebiyose begolus sheshem yeshiv mamtin mitzafa legolus b'nei Yisrael shchini moim hagolus boine melech HaMashiach mikdash ma'at shehu me'ein v'dugmas hamikdash b'Yerushalayim v'tor hachana lemikdash ha'osit she'izgala tchila sham u'misham yeshiv im HaKadosh Baruch Hu b'nei Yisrael l'Yerushalayim. So the Rebbe says that the words of the Rambam b'mkaymai, it's a hint also to the place of Melech HaMashiach in the time of Galus, before it's Mashiach Vadai, which means that when he is still in Galus and he's sitting and waiting to redeem Bnei Yisrael and the Shechina from Galus. So the Melech HaMashiach already builds a Mikdash Ma'at, which is similar to the Mikdash in Yerushalayim, as a preparation to the future Beis HaMikdash that will be revealed, and the Shechina will be revealed, or Mashiach will be revealed there, and from there he will return with Hashem and Bnei Yisrael to Yerushalayim.
So this is quite fascinating. And I just want to look at the footnote here, which is right here, footnote 46. Okay. Where the Rebbe says, which is the Sikha of parts of Yakel and parts of Chaydish. So we can connect this idea where the Rebbe is saying that building the Mikdash b'mkaymai is about Mashiach in Mikdash Ma'at first. So the Rebbe writes, so here we see that based on this Sikha, yes, from the Rebbe in Chel Kamud Vav, where the Rebbe writes, V'negel b'chiras Hashem b'Yerushalayim, shehi k'moy toitza v'hemshach shel b'chiras Hashem b'David liyos malkai. So the whole idea the Rebbe says over there, that choosing Yerushalayim for the Beis Hamikdash was in a way a continuation of choosing David to be the king. Because it was in like the footsteps of choosing David and Melech to be the king, that Hashem chose Yerushalayim and the Ir David to be his city. So it comes out in that Sikha, the Rebbe explains that the base of Mikdash being Yerushalayim was because Yerushalayim was the place where David HaMelech was. So too, we now understand that we talk about the third base of Mikdash that's also going to be in Yerushalayim. So it comes back down to, okay, the Mikdash HaShlishi also in Yerushalayim, because that will be the place again of Melech Mashiach from Zera David. And as the Rambam said at the very beginning of the halacha, the whole point of Mashiach is to bring back Malchus David the way it was. So in that way, we can understand this whole concept then of a Migdash Ma'at in the time of Golus. So it's the idea then too, why we call it Migdash Ma'at. Why does the Gemara say that that's where the Shekhinah is going to come first? So in a way, it's the same idea that is where, if the Mashiach of the generation, that is his place. So under the Chezkas Mashiach, and he comes from Zerah Beis David, so that will be the place where it's going to be. Okay,
Wow.
so that I thought was very interesting. Okay,
Wow.
so continue. ובהמשך.
ובהמשך השיחה, הרבי משליך את הדברים לגבי בייס רבנו של בבל בדורנו זה, בייס הכנסת, בייס המדרש של כלי קדוש שמי רווחה מאדמו"ר נשיא דורנו בגולוס אמריקה, הוא הבני מקדש, בונה מקדש במקיימה של משיח, כהכנה לבניין המקדש במקיימה הקבוע ונצחי בהר הבייס. And the continuation of the Sikha, the Rebbe Mashlich? No?
It's like he casts or he attributes these words of Beis Rabbeinu Shebabel, like for our generation. And he says what?
That this is the Beis HaKnesses, Beis HaMedrash of the Frierdiker Rebbe in the Gullus of America. And that is the building of the Beis HaMikdash Bimkoimai in the place of Mashiach. Where Mashiach is now, like a hachana for the Beis Hamikdash that will be built in its place, in its permanent place in Har HaBayis. L'chayra, av shebeikrein hadvarim amurim liyos nechayim legabe kol Mashiach b'doirei, sharei amusag mikdash ma'at u'beis Rabbeinu shebavel amar liyos b'chol hadoros, afal pikein muvan shegam bazeh after the race hevdel bein dor ledor, ukechol shemeskarvim legula, harei hamikdash ma'at mizdame yoser v'yoser lemikdash ha'ikri habayis hashlishi, al derech hamavur le'el prakim chavdalet chavhei. So seemingly, even though that which is said about Mashiach in the generation, so the idea of Mikdash Ma'at and Beis Rabbeinu Shebavel had to be in all generations. But even so, we understand that even in this, we could see a difference from generation to generation. What more we are coming closer to the Geula, so the Mikdash Ma'at is more similar to the Beis HaMikdash Hashlishi, as it was explained in these prakim.
Right, and this concept is similar to what we've said all along. That with all of the things, every time we talked about the Nasi Hadar and the Mashiach Shebedar, we also saw that as we get closer and closer, that we see all of these elements being even more so. Yes, it was by the Rabbeim in terms of spreading Chassidus and bringing Bnei Yisrael to mitzvahs and everything. But as we get closer and closer, we see it more and more. And it's the same thing with Beis Rabbeinu Shebedar. Okay, continue.
והנה מבואר בשיחה באריכוס, שהקווים המקבילים של בייס רבנו לבייס המקדש, הם בכך שמבייס רבנו יוצא סחורה לכל, דוגמת בייס המקדש, אשר מקום הסנהדרין, המוירים הרויס לכל ישראל. So it's explained in the Sikha at length that the parallels of Beis Rabbeinu to the Beis HaMikdash is in that from Beis Rabbeinu comes teachings to everyone, similar to the Beis HaMikdash where the Sanhedrin was, and they were the ones who taught all Bnei Yisrael. וכן בכך שבייס רבנו הוא מקום של הנשיא, הכולל את כל ישראל, ולשם מסקפצים רב מישראל. And also in the fact that in Beis Rabbeinu, that is the place of the Nasi, which is Hanasi Hu Akol, so all Bnei Yisrael are included in it, and there all Bnei Yisrael come, gather. L'chein hu makam ashras hashchina ha'ikri, dugmas Beis HaMikdash, ashras hashchina ha'isa mipnei shelasham eskaptzim kol Yisrael avodas Hashem. And therefore, this place is the place where the Ikar Shechina is now, similar to the Beis HaMikdash, that the Shechina was resting there because of the fact that that is where all Bnei Yisrael come together to serve Hashem. ובשני עניינים אלו אפשר לראות כיצד בית רבנו שבדורנו דומה לבית המקדש הקבוע שבירושלים, יסר ויסר מבית רבנו שבדרס הקודמים. And in these two ideas, we can see how the Beis Rabbeinu in our generation is similar to the Beis HaMikdash, the permanent Beis HaMikdash in Yerushalayim, more than the Beis Rabbeinu in the previous generations. Because we cannot compare the effect of the teachings of the Rebbe in our generation on the whole world to the teachings that came from Beis Rabbeinu in the earlier generations. ואין הדומה ההסקפצו של רבי מישראל לבית רבנו שבדורנו להסקפצו של ישראל לבית רבנו שבדרס הקודמים. And we can't compare the gathering of many Jews to Beis Rabbeinu in our generation to the gathering of Bnei Yisrael to Beis Rabbeinu in the previous generations. וכלשון הרבה בהמשך השיחה. שרואים במוחה שההילך וניתייסב ביסר סעס וביסר אויז במספר בני ישראל שבאים לבית רבנו ברוב עם הדרס מלך. As the Rebbe says, continues in the Sikha, that we see in actuality how more and more there's more strength and it's getting bigger, the amount of Bnei Yisrael that are coming to Beis Rabbeinu. ברוב עם הדרס מלך. שמזה מובן שעיקר הכנה לבבנה מקדש במקומי הוא בבית רבנו שבדורנו דווקא. And so we understand that the main preparation for building the Beis HaMikdash in its place that the Rambam says is in Beis Rabbeinu in our generation specifically. ובנוגע לקיבוץ גלויות, ראה שיחה שבס פרשת ויקל תשנ"ב. רואים בשנים האחרונות איך שנעשה הויקל בפשטוס קיבוץ גלויות לבני ישראל מכל העולם, שהעולם לארץ הקודש. והעלייה היא בין ערך לעליות שהיו פעם בדור שלפני זה. So we see in the later years that Vayakel is in actuality, that is the gathering of Bnei Israel from the whole world, that they are going up to Eretz Yisrael. And this aliyah is much, much bigger than those that were in the previous generations. וכנ"ל פרק כ"ה, הרבי מקשר את העלייה בשנים האחרונות לפעולתו של משיח צדקנו. And as we learned earlier, the Rebbe connects the Aliyah in the last years to the actions of Moshiach Tzidkenu. How did the Rebbe connect it? Remind me, maybe?
I have to go back and remind myself.
Okay, so meanwhile we'll continue. וכנ"ל פרק כ"ה, הרבי מקשר את העלייה בשנים האחרונות. I just read that. אך כנ"ל, מובן שכל זה הוא רק מעין ובדוגמה סימני משיח בוודאי. But as we mentioned, we understand that all this is only it is as if it is an example of the simanim of Mashiach בוודאי. אך משיח בוודאי כפשוטו הוא רק כאשר ינצח כל האומה שסביביו ויבטל שיבוד מלכות לגמרי ויבנה מקדש כפשוטו ויקבץ כל ישראל. But Mashiach Bevadai is going to be in actuality only when all the nations around will be won over and there will be no more Shibud Goliath completely, and the Beis HaMikdash will actually be built and all Bnei Yisrael will gather together. Shirak Oz of Sharas Hashlemos Hamleya shall keep Matayr Mitzvahs B'Poil, V'Zui Hagula Mitzvahs Vashlema B'Poil, because only then will be the possibility to fulfill all the Torah and mitzvahs in actuality, and that will be the Gula Mitzvah Shlema in actuality.
Before you go on, so what the Rebbe was referring to in Perek Chav Hey that we did before was this idea that referring to the fall of the Soviet Union and the tremendous aliyah from Eretz Yisrael, to Eretz Yisrael. And even though we said that tremendous aliyah to Eretz Yisrael, the Rebbe said in the Sikha then that we quoted there, and Vayakel there, that whole idea of so many Yidden from the former USSR going to Eretz Yisrael was this big, like a Vayakel. And even though there were many who also went to other countries, they never saw that as a side thing. The main thing was that tremendous Aliyah to Eretz Yisrael.
And
So that's
the
what we
connection to Nasi Dairenu, I guess.
well, we know that the Rebbe, with the Mesiras Nefesh, that the Frierdiker Rebbe had to keep Yiddishkeit alive in the former Soviet Union, so that people wanted to go to Eretz Yisrael when they had the ability to do so, and had that tremendous then desire to go there. Okay.
ואף שבסימני חזקס משיח הבאנו אפשרוס ליציאה מפשוטם, הרי אי אפשר לעשות זאת לסימני משיח ועדיין. So even though in the signs of Chezkas Mashiach, we brought the possibility to explain it not according to the Pshat, but we can't do that when it comes to the Simanim of Mashiach Vadai. והתאמובם בפשטוס היועץ שהעיקר הוא לא הצורה היצייני של הסימנים, אלא המטרה והשמעות שלהם, שהמטרה היא לפעול שלמות קיים התורה והמצוות. And the reason is Pashut, because the main thing is not the outer form of these simanim, but the purpose of them. And the purpose of them is that Kiyam Torah Mitzvahs will be Shalem. לכם מנהגי לסימני חזקס משיח שיקויבי לכם, הרי אין נפקא מינה אם הכפייה היא כפייה חיצונית או פנימית, ואם המלחמה היא מלחמה כפשוטו או שלוי. And that's why in the Simanim of Chezkas Mashiach that he's going to force everyone to go in the way of Hashem and fight the wars of Hashem. So it does make a difference if the forcing is a chitzonistic or a pnimistic, and if the war is a war bepashtos or it means something in spiritual. V'ikar hi hatetzah shebnei Yisrael yikaimu mitzvos b'poil v'umas ha'olam yafsiku la'afriya lahem, because the main idea is the outcome that Bnei Yisrael will fulfill mitzvos b'poil, and the other nations will not stop them. ואם משיח מגיע למצב זה בדרך של כפייה פנימית ומלחמה של שלום, אין בכך כל חיסרון ואדרבה. And if Mashiach will reach this matzav in a way through kfiya pnimis and a melchama of shalom, then there is absolutely no disadvantage here, because he's coming to the goal either way. אך בנוגע לסימני משיח ודאי, הרי מטרת בניין המקדש היא קיום המצוות בפועל, כלומר הקרבת הקורבנות, וכיוון שאי אפשר להקריב קורבנות במקדש מעט שבחוץ לארץ, הרי אין בזה כלל קיום הסימן של ובנה מקדש, אלא רק הכנה לזה. But regards to the simanim of Mashiach Vadai, the purpose of the binyan mikdash is to be able to fulfill the mitzvahs b'poil, meaning bringing karbanis. Because you cannot bring karbanis in a mikdash ma'at that was built not in Eretz Yisrael. So the siman of Ubana Mikdash is not being fulfilled. It is only a preparation for this. Well, there's a benagay lekibutz nitchei Yisrael shemataras hakibutz ukiyam mitzvah shmitim v'yavolis b'poil v'at shelo higanu lazeh ein zeh lekibutz nitchei Yisrael hamadubar b'Rambam. And so too, in regard to the gathering of Bnei Israel, that the purpose of gathering everyone is to be able to fulfill the mitzvahs of Shemitah and Yovel in actuality. And until we come to this, it's not the kibbutz nitchei Yisrael that the Rambam mentions.
So it's always a me'ain, right? It's a taste of it. It's a taste and a preparation, but it's not the final thing. We're still waiting that should come. Take of a miyad. Okay, Liba, would you like to take over? Unmute. Where'd you go?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. ימינו אלה ימות המשיח. על פי כל הנ"ל, אודות סדר התגלותו של משיח, שיש בזה כמה שלבים, יש לברר מאיזה שלב זהו נקרא ביאת המשיח וימות המשיח, האמורים בכל מקום. So, like we spoke before, there's a whole seder how Mashiach is going to be revealed. There's a few steps in it. So we have to find out which step is called the Bias HaMashiach and Yemos HaMashiach, that we speak about it everywhere. וברור שימות המשיח בשלמותם, וגאולה האמיתית והשלמה, הוא רק כאשר בנה מקדש במקומו וקיבץ סתרי ישראל, שאז ישנו קיום תרי"ג מצוות בפועל וכולי, כנ"ל באריכות. So it's clear that when we talk about the completion of Yemos HaMashiach and a complete Geula, it means only when he built the Beis HaMikdash in his place and he gathered all the Yidden. And then we can fulfill all the Taryag mitzvahs in actuality, like we said before. אך במידה מסוימת, אפשר לראות גם את השלב הקודם לכך, ניצח כל האומות שסביביו, כנקודה של שבירת הגלות ומעבר ממצב של גלות לגאולה. So we can also say in a certain way that we can see that the first step, that before the completion of the Geula, the step of that he won all the enemies, all the nations around him, that this is the point where the Golus is being break down, and we're going through from Geula from Golus to Geula. כי כדברי הרמב"ם בפרק של אחרי זה, אמרו חכמים, אין בין העולם הזה לימות המשיח, אלא שיעבוד מלכויות בלבד. So like the Rambam says in the afterwards that the Chacham said that there is only one difference between Golus and Geula, it's the עניין of שיעבוד מלכויות. וכפי שנדבר לאל, שעיקר הגלות היא שיעבוד המלכויות, ועיקר הגאולה הוא ביטול השיעבוד, שאז כבר פתוחה הדרך לבניין המקדש וקיבוץ הנידחים כנ"ל. So like we said before, that the main Golus is the union of being under the nations, and the main point of Geula is nullifying this being under the nations. Then when we don't have the nation on top of us, then we can always, the way is open to build a Beis HaMikdash and gather all the Yidden. ואכן מצינו שכאשר חז"ל מדברים על יום שבן דוד בא, כוונתם ליום ניצחונו על האומות. וכיוון דעתי הכל עבדים הם לישראל, עוד קודם שבנה המקדש וקיבץ הנידחים וכולי. So Taka, we find in where Chazal talk that about the day that Mashiach, that Ben David is coming, they mean about winning the nations, because now everybody, when they will win the nations, so everybody will be slaves to Am Yisrael, and this is before he built the Beis HaMikdash and before he gathered all the Yidden. ויתרה מזו, שגם הזמן שלפני ניצחונו של משיח, עוד בתקופה של בחזקת שהוא משיח, יכול להיקרא ביאת המשיח ותחילת ימות המשיח. So even more than that, even before the time that the Mashiach is winning the nations, still in the time of Chezkas שהוא Mashiach, we can call this time already coming of Mashiach and the beginning of the days of Mashiach. וכדברי הרמב"ם בהמשך דבריו, יראה מפשוטן של דברי הנביאים שבתחילת ימות המשיח, קודם מלחמת גוג ומגוג, יעמוד נביא ליישר ישראל ולהכין ליבם. So it's like the Rambam said over there, that it seems from the shot of the Nevi'im that in the beginning of the days of Mashiach, before this war of Gog and Magog, there will be a Navi that he will prepare the way to Am Yisrael to work Hashem, to serve Hashem. ומשמע מדבריו, שהביטוי תחילת ימות המשיח קאי על התקופה של חזקת משיח, בעוד הגלות בתוקפה, ומשיח עדיין צריך ללחום מלחמות השם, קודם מלחמת גוג ומגוג, מלחמת גוג. So we see here, that we understand from here that when the Rambam speaks about the beginning of the days of Mashiach, he means about the time of Chezkas שהוא Mashiach, when the gold is still very strong, and Mashiach still has to fight his fights, מלחמת השם. It's still before the winning the nation of Gog, before the war with Gog. וכך גם מובן מדברי הרבי, שמבאר את לשון חז"ל שבכל מקום מדברים על ימות המשיח בלשון רבים, כי בימות המשיח כמה דרגות, לא רק כאשר המשיח הוא בחזקת משיח, אלא גם כאשר הוא משיח ודאי. הרי שגם התקופה של חזקת משיח יכולה להיכלל בהגדרה ימות המשיח. So also we understand this from what the Rebbe said, that he explains לשון חז"ל, that everywhere they speak about Yemos HaMashiach in plural, because in the Yemos HaMashiach there's a few steps, a few levels. It's the first, not only when the Chezkas Mashiach, but also Mashiach Vadai. So we see that also the period of time of Chezkas Mashiach can be included in the definition of Yemos HaMashiach. וכנ"ל בפרק הקודם, גם השלב בו משיח מתגלה ומבשר לגאולה, או צרם שהחל לפעול אותה, נקרא בלשון חז"ל במדרש שעה שמלך המשיח בא, ביאת המשיח. So like we spoke before, so the step when Mashiach is revealing, and he speaks about the Geula, מבשר the Geula, and it's still before he started to actually do the Geula, already Chazal call it the hour when Mashiach comes, ביאת המשיח. Okay, משיח בא, ביאת המשיח. ועד שעצם העניין של יעמוד מלך מבית דוד, יכול להיחשב כדרגה מסוימת בכלל ימות המשיח. And even we can say that even this union of יעמוד מלך מבית דוד, this can already be considered as a certain step in the ימות המשיח. ובפשטות, הסיבה שתקופה זו נקראת תחילת ימות המשיח, על שם זה שמשיח כבר נמצא ופועל פעולותיו, אף שעדיין זוהי גלות עם כל משמעותיה. And simply to explain the reason why we call it the beginning of days of Mashiach, because already Mashiach is there and he started already his actions, but still Golus is still very hard with all what it has to, what it presents. ויתרה מזו, כנ"ל בפרקים הקודמים, שמיד עם החורבן נעמד אחד המוכן לגאול את ישראל, ויש משיח בעולם. והרבי מבאר שעניין זה הוא כבר התחלה של גאולה. So like we said before, that right with the destruction of Beis Hamikdash, there is one who is already standing ready, prepared to take us from Golus, to be the, and there is already Mashiach. And the Rebbe explained that this is already the beginning of the Geula, of the redemption. ולכאורה, לזה כוונת חז"ל בדבריהם אודות 2,000 ימות המשיח, שכוונתם ל2000 שנה האחרונות, המתחילות קע"ב שנה אחר חורבן הבית השני, שכל שנים אלו נקראים בשם ימות המשיח, שזהו מצד כוח המשיח שכבר נמצא בעולם. And probably that's what Chazal means when they speak about 2,000 years of Mashiach, of Yemos HaMashiach. That they mean, they speak about the 2,000 years, that it starts 172 years after the destruction of the second Beis Hamikdash, and all those years are called Yemos HaMashiach, because Mashiach is already found in the world. אך מכל מקום, מובן, שככל שהמשיח הולך ומתגלה יותר ויותר, כך ההגדרה ימות המשיח מקבלת משמעות יותר ויותר פשוטה, ועיקר ושלמות שם ימות המשיח הוא כנ"ל, let's do the first sentence. So we understand that as long as Mashiach is revealed more and more, so exactly the definition of Yemos HaMashiach gets more simple meaning. ועיקר ושלמות שם ימות המשיח הוא כנ"ל לאחר יום ניצחונו כשבטל שעבוד מלכויות, ובפרטיות לאחר שבנה המקדש וקיבץ נדחי ישראל, והם ימות המשיח סתם האמורים בכל מקום. So we understand that the main and the completion of Yemos HaMashiach is after, like we said before, after the day that he is nullifying the kingdom of the other nations, and especially after he built the Beis Hamikdash and after he gathered all the Yidden, and these are the Yemos HaMashiach that we Chazal refer to them everywhere. אלא שגם הזמן שלפני זה, יש בו כבר עניינים של מציאות משיח וגילוי משיח, אפשר לקרוא לו גם כתחילת ימות המשיח, או אפילו ימות המשיח, כיוון שבאופן כללי גם הוא נכלל והווה חלק מתקופת ימות המשיח. So, also the time before all those things are actually here, but we have already the reality of Mashiach and the revelation of Mashiach. That's why we can call them the beginning of the days of Mashiach, or even just simply days of Mashiach, because in general is already part, and this time was already part of the times of ימות המשיח. ועל פי הנ"ל, אפשר להבין גם את דבריו הידועים של נשיא דורנו, אודות ימינו אלה, ימות המשיח, שבהם נמצאים עכשיו. So we can understand also what the famous, what the Rebbe said about our days, that this is the days of Mashiach, that we are in them now. וכנ"ל בפרקים הקודמים, בשיחת השבת פרשת וערה תשנ"ב, מבואר, שמאז י"א שבט תשי"א, היום בו החלה באופן רשמי וגלוי נשיאות חב"ד על ידי נשיא דורנו, זוהי תקופה שבבחינת ימות המשיח ועוד השונות כיוצא בזה. So we see that the Rebbe spoke clearly and openly about the days from י"א שבט תשי"א, that it's the official day when the Rebbe became Rebbe, that this is the time of ימות המשיח, and other similar phrases that the Rebbe said about it. כי כנ"ל, ההגדרה ימות המשיח נכונה לא רק לגבי התקופה של הגאולה השלמה במילואה, אלא גם לגבי התקופה שבה משיח נמצא ופועל בעולם קודם הגאולה, בבחינת בחזקת שהוא משיח, וכדברי הרמב"ם הנ"ל, אודות תחילת ימות המשיח קודם מלחמת גוג ומגוג. Okay, because like we said, the definition of the days of Mashiach is true also not only to the about the period of time of the Geula Shlema, but also it's also right for the time, the period of time when Mashiach is here and already doing his Peulos before the complete Geula, when the time of his Chezkas Shu Mashiach, and like the Rambam said before, that the beginning of the days of Mashiach is before the war of Gog ומגוג. ומזה מובן בנוגע אלינו, לאחר הדברים הברורים, שישנה לא רק המציאות דמשיח, אלא גם ההתגלות דמשיח, וישנו כבר המלך בבית דוד, בחזקת שהוא משיח. הרי ימינו אלו, החל מי"א שבט תשי"א, כאשר יעמוד מלך בבית דוד, הוא מוסיף והולך בשנים שלאחר מכן, ראויים להגדרה ימות המשיח, ימים של מלך המשיח. אם כי כמובן הכוונה לא לימות המשיח בשלמותם, אלא להתחלתם. So what it has to do with us after those clear things, that we understand it's not only the reality of Mashiach, but it's also the revelation of Mashiach, and there is already this, that will stand the Melech from the base David, and he is Chezkas Shu Mashiach. So we understand that those days that start from Yud Aleph Shvat, that when it started this Yamo, that stood king from base David, and is continuing and being more and more in the years after that, and the days are more, I say, they are more qualified, the more suitable to call them the days of Mashiach. So we understand that it's not only, well, we understand that it's not the complete days of Mashiach, but it's just the beginning of the days of Mashiach. Okay, סיכום, it's a summary. משיח שבדור הוא הראוי והמוכן לגאול את ישראל באם יזכו. וכפי שאמרו על רבי יהודה הנשיא, אם אין חיה הוא, כדבר התלוי בספק. So the Mashiach in every generation, he's ready and he's suitable to redeem Am Yisrael if they will be in a state of Zachu. And like they said about Rabbi Yehuda, that if somebody that he's living, he's Rabbi Yehuda. But this was, I think I said this last phrase, כדבר התלוי בספק. Why it was a doubt?
No, there's a doubt. It's the idea that it could be, but we don't know, because until they do something, we don't know. But in every generation, that's what we said, Mashiach Shebedar, we talked about that. The Mashiach Shebedar doesn't even have to do the Peulos necessarily. Mashiach Shebedar, we know that
about the Rebbe, we knew that he's Mashiach. Yeah, it wasn't a doubt.
That's right. That's why it was different. But we started our chapter. This is a sikkum of the whole chapter. So we started the chapter talking about what do we mean when we say Mashiach Shebedar, that we have in every single generation from the time of the Chorban, somebody who is from Beis David, Ro'i, and he's Mukhan. He's ready to do it if Bnei Yisrael are worthy. In other words, if he gets the message to go forward, he knows he's the one. Okay, but it's suffix, like we said. Why suffix? Because it could not happen. The person could pass away before anything happens, before he takes it up highest. like we saw with all the
Yeah,
generations.
but the person was a role like to be Mashiach. Yeah, this wasn't a doubt. Like also all
Yeah,
the
but he
Talmud that
didn't
said
even get
our
to,
Rebbe is not
but it
Mashiach.
doesn't even come, but it doesn't even come to Chezkas necessarily.
Okay.
We don't see, but there's always a Mashiach Shebedar, even if they don't get to those Pu'ulos of Chezkas Mashiach, there's still going to be a Mashiach Shebedar. Okay, so like we saw with Rabbi Yehuda Anasi, like we said very clearly, if it's someone from the living, it could be Rabbi Yehuda Anasi because he's from Beis David, he's Roy and Muchad, he could have been. But Chezkas Mashiach is another level.
וכאשר המשיח שבדור עושה פעולות ממשיות להבאת הגאולה, שפעולות אלו מוכיחות שהוא עומד לגאול את ישראל בפועל. כפי שאמר רבי עקיבא על בן כוזיבא, דין הוא מלכא דמשיחא. Okay, so the Chezkas Mashiach is when the Mashiach in every generation is already doing real actions to bring the Geula, and those actions, they prove that he's going to redeem Am Yisrael actually. And like Rabbi Akiva said about Ben Kuziva, he is Melech HaMashiach, because he saw that he did the Peulas that,
Right.
like the Chezkas Mashiach. אמנם, כל עוד נמצאים בזמן הגלות, והוא רק משתדל ופועל להביא את הגאולה, הרמב"ם מגדיר אותו כחזקת שהוא משיח, כיוון שעדיין ישנה אפשרות שאינו זה שהבטיחה עליו תורה, כפי שדבר לגבי בן כוזיבא. So as long as we're staying in Golus, and the Mashiach is just is working, is trying very hard to, and is working to bring the redemption, Rambam defines him as Chezkas Shur Mashiach, because there is still a possibility that he is not the one that the Torah promised that he's the Mashiach, like it was about Ben Kuziba that they found out that he wasn't the Mashiach. ורק לאחר שהצליח בפעולותיו, והביא את הגאולה בפועל, בבניין המקדש וקיבוץ הנידחים, שאז ישנה שלמות קיום התורה בפועל ממש, וזוהי גאולה אמיתית ושלמה, רק אז ישנה ודאות מוחלטת שהוא המשיח. So only after he succeeded in all his פעולות, all his action, and he brought the redemption actually, and he built the Beis Hamikdash, and he gathered all the Yidden, only then we can also complete doing all the Torah and mitzvahs actually, and only then is the real and complete Geula, and only then we know that he is the real Mashiach. בדורנו, הרב מדבר ברורות על כך שישנו המלך מבית דוד בחזקת שהוא משיח, והרבי עצמו מגשים בפועל את תיאור הרמב"ם לפעולותיו של משיח. So in our generation, the Rebbe spoke clearly about there is a king of Beis David, and he is בחזקת שהוא משיח, and the Rebbe himself, he was standing by the definition of the Rambam about Mashiach, about the action of Mashiach. אם כי נראה שהרבי מוציא דברי הרמב"ם עם משמעותם החיצונית של מלך כפשוטו וכפייה כפשוטה וכולי, ולוקח. So we see here that the Rebbe takes out what the Rambam speaks about the king and that he is forcing everybody with koyach. So the Rebbe explains it not in such a way, but he takes it to a different Can we go to the next page? ולוקח אותה במשמעות הפנימית יותר, המשמעות הפנימית של המלכות, איש מורם ונישא מעם, והמשמעות הפנימית של כפייה בדברים דווקא, בדרכי נועם מחד גיסא, ובתוקף בהחלטיות כדבר מחייב מאידך, the internal meaning, that a king means a person that is much higher than the people, than the nation, and that he's forcing them. That doesn't mean forcing with power, but forcing through talking. Like in a nice way from one side, but with strength, with stringiness and like, but something that is really force. How do you say it? Okay, I don't know how to say it.
With certainty.
Certainty, thank you. אוקיי, ועל דרך זה הרבי מפרש את המלחמות שברמב"ם כמלחמה של שלום דווקא. והדוגמה לזה, התמוטטות המשטר הקומוניסטי, שבזה התאפשר לכל היהודים שם לקיים תורה ומצוות בחופשיות. And going this way, the Rebbe explains what does it mean, the wars that the Rambam speaks about them, also a war that they're coming through peace. And the example of that is the communist regime, how it fell apart. So then it was without any wars, it was in Darchei Shalom, and then the Yidden can fulfill all the Torah mitzvahs in an open way. מצינו שהרבי מדבר גם על הפעולות של משיח ודאי. בנה מקדש במקומו וקיבץ שטחי ישראל, ומבאר שאפשר לראות כבר הכנה והתחלה שלהן בזמן הזה. And also we found that the Rebbe spoke about the actions of the Mashiach Vadai, that he's building the Beis Hamikdash and he's gathering all the Yidden. And the Rebbe explained that we can see it already as a preparation and a beginning of this in our times. אך בפשטות מובן שבכדי להגדיר את המשיח כמשיח ודאי, צריך את בניין המקדש כפשוטו דווקא, וכיבוס הנידחים המלא דווקא. But simply we understand that to define Mashiach as a Mashiach ודאי, he has to build the Beis Hamikdash actually simply, and also gather all the Yidden דווקא, yeah? not in a other way, meaning. והנה, הגאולה בשלמותה, היא כאשר בנה מקדש במקומו וקיבץ שטחי ישראל, הוא מקבץ שטחי ישראל. אך במידה מסוימת, עצם זה שמשיח מנצח את כל האומות, הוא מכשיר את הדרך לבניין המקדש וכולי, מצב זה יכול לחשב כבר כיום שבן דוד בא. But in a certain way we can say that just the idea that the Mashiach is winning all the nations and he's preparing the way for building the Beis Hamikdash, this situation already can be considered as the day that Ben David came. ויתרה מזו, גם טרם ניצחונו של משיח, עצם העובדה שישנו משיח שנלחם במלחמות השם וכולי, כבר יכולה להיחשב במידה מסוימת כתחילת ימות המשיח. And even more than that, even before Mashiach is winning the nations, the fact that Mashiach is already fighting the wars of Hashem, this can already consider in a way the beginning of the days of Mashiach. ולכאורה, זו הסיבה שמצינו שהרבי מגדיר את תקופתנו כאשר ישנה התגלות דמשיח וישנו המלך בית דוד בחזקת שהוא משיח וכולי, כימות המשיח בהם אנו נמצאים. And probably that is the reason why the Rebbe defines our time when we have already the revelation of Mashiach and we have the king of Beis David בחזקת שהוא משיח. That's why the Rebbe defines this time as the Yemais HaMashiach that we are already in them.
So that concludes this chapter. And so we can see again that there's very clear definition. So I hope it's much clearer for all of us. This concept that we have already, these elements of the idea of Mashiach Shebedar, right? The person Ra'i to be Mashiach of that generation, someone from Beis David who's just waiting for the signal, for the message that comes, what we said, Machshava first, that he has a thought, he understands, he recognizes who he is. And then it comes B'dibur, he starts doing the Pu'ulois, B'dibur, as in announcing the time for Gula, he starts doing the actions, the Pu'ulois, and then we say the Chezkas Mashiach. And as long as we get closer, and what we've seen is when the Lashonis that the Rebbe used, we never saw before. There's Lashonis of we are already in Yemais Mashiach. We are already in these days. And now we understand that in general, yes, Alpine Shana for the 2,000 years are all generally called Tafka Yemais Mashiach, but that's in a very, very broad sense. In the way the Rebbe used the term Yemais Mashiach wasn't in that very, very broad term of Alpine Shana Yemais Mashiach, as 2,000 years of Yemais Mashiach, but rather in a very, very particular way that the Pu'ulais that the Rambam describes as the Pu'ulais of Chezkas Mashiach are definitely there. And even though we're still waiting for Mashiach Vadai, we still see even the things Mashiach Vadai has to do, that we already have steps toward those things happening. And that for sure is why the Rebbe told us that we are, when the Rebbe said Yemais Mashiach and Tchilas Yemais Mashiach, that all the things are me'ain, the Gula Mitzvah Shlema, and there's certainly a hachan to the Gula Mitzvah Shlema, a hachan more than we've ever seen before. And so we should be Zaychataka to see that Geula Amitis Vashlema, take it from Miyad, Mamish, even before our next year, for sure. Thank you all for joining. And Mr. Shem, we will meet again next week with our next chapter, Parak Lamed Beis. Thank you all.
Amen. Thank you.
Shkoyach.